This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Today, the threat of regional war looms as Gaza ceasefire talks stall, the UK allows Ukraine to use British weapons inside Russia, and Disney is embroiled in controversy for trying to dismiss a death lawsuit. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Thursday the 15th of August 2024. In our main story today, we bring you an update on the conflict in the Middle East. On Thursday, mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and the US are scheduled to meet in Doha to try and broker a Gaza ceasefire deal, but it's unlikely to lead to any agreement. That's because earlier this week, Hamas signaled it would not participate, with its senior official Osama Hamdan telling the Associated Press that the group would only join talks focused on an internationally supported proposal by US President Joe Biden in May, and that Hamas are not interested in negotiating a new deal. Accusing Israel of sabotaging efforts, Hamdan said Israel has, quote, either sent a non-voting delegation to talks or changed delegations from one round to another, so we would start again, or it has imposed new conditions. But Hamas has also attempted to introduce new elements into negotiations, reportedly due to a lack of faith in the US's ability to broker a deal. For example, by attempting to add other guarantors, including Russia, Turkey, and the UN. More recently, though, talks have also been complicated by a change in leadership. In late July, the head of Hamas's political bureau and a leading figure in ceasefire negotiations, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated in Israel's capital Tehran, which Iran and Hamas blame on Israel. Haniyeh's role was then taken over by a far more ruthless and radical figure, Yahya Sinwar, who is widely considered to have masterminded the October 7th attacks, and whose appointment a regional diplomat called a message of toughness and uncompromising. Simultaneously, though, Israel has also hardened its stance in the past few weeks, making public its conditions of maintaining a lasting military presence in Gaza after any ceasefire, a proposal that Hamas is especially resistant to. Finally, Thursday's negotiations are also taking place against a very present threat of retaliation from Iran against Israel, after the killing of both Haniyeh and a top Hezbollah commander in Lebanon's capital Beirut just hours beforehand. The US has cautioned all parties not to undermine talks, claiming that a ceasefire deal might stave off regional escalation, but it still seems firmly unconvinced by the prospect of peace. In just the past few days, the US has rushed fighter jets, anti-missile warships, and a guided missile submarine to the region, and warned that a, quote, significant set of attacks by Iran and its allies could be possible as soon as this week. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Iris Leveilleur, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for just $1.99. Moving to the UK now, where the UK's Ministry of Defence, MOD, have claimed that Ukraine has a clear right to use weapons that have been donated by Britain for its own defence. The key addition, though, was the phrase, "This does not preclude operations inside Russia," meaning that Ukraine is able to use British weapons as part of their ongoing intervention in Russia. There have been reports this morning that British Challenger 2 tanks have been used inside Russia for the first time, with videos coming out of Ukraine showing Russian forces attacking one of these tanks. It is worth noting, though, that there are a few caveats here. The first and most obvious is that the equipment is to be used in line with international law. The second is that, whilst anti-tank missiles, artillery, and armoured vehicles are allowed to be used inside Russia, Storm Shadow missiles, which are long-range air-launched missiles, remain off-limits. Previously, Downing Street stated that these missiles are only allowed to be used in Ukraine itself, a policy that the Labour government is standing firm on. In economics news now, we turn to Norway's ongoing currency crisis. Norway's currency, the krone, is now close to record lows against both the US dollar and the euro, ignoring a dramatic depreciation at the start of the pandemic. It's been the worst performing among the top 10 most frequently traded currencies this year, sparking concern among politicians and business people. Fixing the krone's exchange rate will be a difficult task, and a former environment minister has suggested to the Financial Times that pegging it to the euro could be one radical solution. There's also been some discussion about setting up a Krona Commission to look at what happened with the currency, which would include former Prime Minister and now opposition leader Erna Solberg. In practical terms, though, the krona's weakness has forced companies to raise the price of imports and has made practically everything more expensive for the average Norwegian consumer, as practically all consumer goods are imported in Norway. However, the Scandinavian currency crisis isn't just limited to Norway, as neighbouring Sweden has also seen a renewed debate in recent months about joining the Eurozone to make its currency more stable. Moving to the US now, where Disney is trying to have a legal case thrown out due to the terms and conditions of Disney+. The case specifically is a wrongful death lawsuit that was filed by Jeffrey Piccolo, a New York University doctor's grieving husband, whose wife suffered a fatal allergic reaction shortly after eating at a Disney Springs restaurant last October. For their part, Disney are arguing that the $50,000 lawsuit should be moved out of the courts because Piccolo signed up for a 1-month free trial of Disney Plus on his PlayStation back in 2019. They claim that, as part of the terms of service, he agreed to arbitrate all disputes with the company, and that, as a result, the case should be moved out of the courts. In addition, Disney has claimed that Piccolo agreed to similar language when he used the My Disney Experience app to buy tickets for the trip with his wife. Now, Piccolo's attorneys have claimed that this tactic from Disney is preposterous and outrageously unreasonable. And in our final uplifting story today, we discuss gamers raising money for a good cause. It was reported this week that a group of those playing the medieval hack-and-slash game Mordhau have grouped together to try and raise money for a 21-year-old fellow gamer Cameron Elliott, who was diagnosed earlier this year with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. After a few months of treatment, his medical bills had skyrocketed to $36,000, $18,000 of which had been paid from family savings. So, in order to raise money, the annual tournament has been dedicated to Elliott. So far, the community has been able to raise more than $2,000, and it's hoped that more money will be donated. Speaking about this, Elliott has said, "To see the work that we've done come back around for me in a time where I really needed it makes me extremely proud and thankful to be a part of the Mordhau fistfighting community."
There's a lot of difficult decisions to make here, and making huge decisions is difficult, even for world leaders. The good thing is that Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data, programming, and AI. Their interactive classes help build your critical thinking skills through problem solving, not memorizing. So while you're building real knowledge on specific topics, you'll also be becoming a better thinker. For instance, their Predicting with Probability course can help you better understand and assess the world around you. You can learn to wrangle massive datasets, compare distributions, and master fundamental concepts like Bayes' theorem. That might sound a little technical, but with their active learning, you learn this by answering questions like which airline is least likely to have a delay due to weather, and how much more unruly airline passengers have gotten since the pandemic. Data skills are absolutely necessary for navigating the modern world, and Brilliant is the best way to get them. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR, or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription.